Welcome to the You Are It podcast. My name is Alejandra Orozco. I am a social science researcher and an energy healer. You Are It has been created to support you in expanding your perception of reality. You are loved and absolutely deserving simply because you are, not because of what you have accomplished. Join me and be ready to transform your beliefs and approaches as you enter the flow of becoming one with your highest good and your highest purpose. Hello, dear friends. Welcome to You Are It. Les habla Alejandra. In the first 2 episodes of this season, Trust Your Knowing and Notice Awareness, I invited you to notice awareness itself, the quiet field that is here before thought, before identity, before the story of who you are. To rest, even briefly, in what notices, rather than in what is noticed. This episode is what comes next in that thread. Because once you begin to sense that awareness becomes more familiar than the thought it holds, even if only occasionally, something begins to shift in how the world appears before you. The outer begins to feel less like something happening to you, and more like something arising with you, in correspondence with you. That is what I want to explore today, but not as a philosophy, more like something I keep catching myself living. You could say that the heart of this episode is a question. When something happens out there, what if the most transformative question we could ask ourselves is, what is this asking me to see in here? And that question can be considered the heart of this episode. For you, regular listeners of You Are It, it is clear this is not a newly explored question. And yet, every time it is explored, it keeps bringing about new fractals of understanding. Yes, experiences of reality are somehow deepening awareness on it and supporting some sort of remembering. Just like the way we might walk past a particular tree every day, and then one morning we actually see it, really see it, and we realize it has always been extraordinary. I am in Bali as I record this. When I was planning this trip, there was a part of me, to be fully honest, that was looking for something, a community, a healer, a place where something might shift. And what actually happened reminded me of The Alchemist, the book by Paulo Coelho, where the boy travels across continents through difficulty and wonder to find a treasure, and discovers it was always near the place where he began. And indeed, the whole journey was necessary for him to see what had always been there. So far, Bali has not given me something I was missing. It is showing me, again, that what I am seeking is already within me. It also reminded me of a phrase from the Kybalion that says, as within, so without. The principle of correspondence. The idea that what exists at one level of reality mirrors what exists at every other level, the vast and the intimate, organized by the same patterns. This principle seemed like an invitation to go beyond beliefs, to instead observe life with curiosity, to notice how, as I feel within, I experience without. And why? Somehow, my experience with the trip to Bali was inviting me to notice the patterns within my own life. When I move into worry about work, about what is or isn't arriving, when I fixate on outcomes and begin managing things from a place of fear or scarcity around income, things often remain in a state of stagnation or contraction. And when something in me genuinely loosens or surrenders, not as a strategy, not as forced positivity, but as an actual release, things begin to move. Not always in a dramatic way, but consistently enough that I notice things shifting. Yes, what we bring to an experience shapes what becomes available within it. A few days ago, I was on a speedboat heading out with a group for the snorkeling, and I felt fear. Not panic, but a real physical contraction. The speed of the boat, the open and choppy waters. Yes, something in me did not feel safe. And what matters about the experience is not that I overcame the fear or that I was brave. Not at all. What was fascinating is that I noticed it. I became aware of the fear as something arising in awareness, rather than something I am. And in that small space, that gap between the experience and the identification with it, something unexpected appeared. It was a joyful sense of gratitude. And from there, I chose surrender. And I was not forcing myself to do it. Rather, it felt like the natural choice to make, to witness the feeling without trying to control it or react to it. Something in me that was quieter than the fear and touched by it knew there was nothing to be afraid of. What happened next is what I find most interesting. Several people on the boat became ill. Some did not snorkel at all. Same boat, same water, same waves for all of us. And I was in paradise. Same outer conditions, entirely different experience. In the water, I felt profound joy, something I can only describe as oneness with the water, with the reef, with the fish moving around me. At one point, I climbed back into the boat, but then I jumped back into the water because separation from the ocean felt so wrong at that moment. And I thought, this is what the teachings I have been exploring point to. This is what David Hawkins was mapping, that the level of consciousness through which we meet the world shapes what the world appears to be. And you hear this again in the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, that consciousness is not passive, it is formative. We don't just experience reality, we participate in how it is revealed. The Upanishads say this in different ways, but one of the simplest is Aham Brahmasmi, I am that, a recognition that we can try to explore here briefly. I am that seems to suggest that what we experience as inside and what we experience as outside are not as separate as they seem. That the separation between perceiver and perceived is the structure of Maya, the veil or illusion, and that the world we experience is shaped in correspondence by how much or how little of that deeper nature or awareness you are in contact with at any given moment. In the boat, in the water, in Bali, I was briefly in contact with something beneath the fear. And the world I met from that place was radically different from the one the fear would have shown me. The conditions of the ocean did not change, but the one meeting the ocean shifted. At this point, allow me to address something important connected to my own experience. I am aware that this teaching, as within, so without, can be misunderstood and misused in a way that causes sadness or harm, particularly when it becomes a way of looking away from what is unjust, painful, or out of balance, spiritualizing suffering instead of meeting it. For example, when we say to someone suffering, just raise your vibration, we turn a teaching about inner freedom into a comfortable distance from very real pain. Pain that exists in bodies, in communities, in histories that carry trauma. And surely, this is not how we are being invited to use these traditions. As I have mentioned at different times, I have spent years in close proximity to suffering that was not metaphysical. It was political, historical, documented. Communities whose pain had names and dates and maps. And I have also walked, sometimes simultaneously, towards healing, towards consciousness work, towards the kind of presence these teachings describe. When considering the question, how do we address injustice without collapsing into the frequency of the very thing we are trying to change? These teachings are not asking us to look away. They ask something far more demanding: to be a different kind of presence within what is, not above it, not floating in a spiritual altitude while others hurt, but in it, fully, honestly, sometimes painfully present, while rooted in something the suffering cannot reach. A spiritual coach called Alison Holly uses the image of a river. She says, the banks are already inherent in the water. When you trust the flow, the right form reveals itself. This also speaks to the question of how we respond to what is genuinely unjust in the world from a position of strength. Urgency-driven action tries to impose a structure first. It comes from the feeling that something is broken and must be fixed immediately. That the outer must be controlled because the inner feels unsafe. But action that arises from flow, from clarity, from what is sometimes called inspired action, already carries its own timing, its own right form. Maybe we are being asked to do both, to see clearly without looking away from what is real and difficult, and at the same time to remain rooted, sovereign, so we are not swept into reactive states that collapse our capacity to respond. The deepest seeing and the deepest sovereignty are not opposites of engagement. They are its highest form. Someone who sees clearly and remains undefeated by what they see can do something that neither the person who looks away nor the person who collapses into reaction can do. They can act from clarity, from what Hawkins calls power rather than force, from the flow rather than from urgency. And when action comes from that inner power, we have more to offer to the very conditions we wish to change. As we give our attention to the unfolding of physical reality, we can notice that the grip and the flow are not neutral. When I hold tightly to worry, control, urgency, things contract. When I open to trust, release, inspired action, things move. And actions that are inspired are not concerned with controlling outcomes. Non-reactive action, emerging from inner strength, means that we are aware that how we meet the moment becomes part of what unfolds. You may ask, how do we respond to injustice without collapsing into sadness or anger? It might look like pausing when something outside irritates, frightens, or moves you, and asking, what in me is this touching? And what I bring to the question shapes what becomes available in the answer. Janja, another spiritual coach, shares this image for the moments when the mirror of reality shows us something uncomfortable. When we look at a pattern in society or in our own lives and feel the weight of it. She says, a left turn is not a wrong turn. It is information. At the next intersection, you simply choose differently. Not because you failed, simply because now you know more. I find this image genuinely freeing because one of the quiet risks of this teaching is that it becomes another way to judge ourselves, another reason to feel responsible for everything that has gone wrong. And that is not what these teachings are pointing to. The mirror is not a verdict. It is an invitation. And every moment of our lives, every single moment, is a new intersection where we can choose again, within ourselves and in how we meet the world. The Kybalion suggests correspondence moves in both directions. Working on what is within transforms what appears without, and working skillfully with what appears without can shift what is within. The movement is never one way. Dr. Hawkins suggests that even small changes in inner frequency, for example, from fear to openness, from contraction to acceptance, correspond to perceptibly different experiences of the same outer circumstances. And Yogananda's teachings remind us that the deepest shift of all is not a shift in what we experience, but in our identification with it. From the wave believing to be separate from the ocean, to the wave knowing, even briefly, even dimly, what it is made of. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that. In case it is not already clear, let me share that I am not offering these musings from a place of having arrived. I still meet fear, uncertainty. I still wonder if I can make a difference with my research and whether it can contribute to addressing the social challenges I care about. And there is the omnipresent question of whether what I am building is enough. But something has changed. These experiences and the feelings that come with them no longer need to disappear for me to be okay. And sometimes, only sometimes, the questions change from why is this happening to me to what is this asking me to see in me? If something resonated with you, just rest there. You are the one in whom all of this is arising. I love you all absolutely dearly. Me llamo Alejandra, and you have been listening to You Are It. Talk to you again in the first week of May. Rumi once said, "You search the world for treasures, but the real treasure is yourself." This is the essence of our message on the You Are It podcast. You are the treasure waiting to be discovered or enjoyed. You are the flame that never consumes itself and the light that shines everywhere. Now you are home. Please know that you are most welcome. Stay tuned as we look forward to sharing something of value on every episode.